absence. Has been an 11% increase in revenue in August compared to August 2020. So that's fantastic. We're averaging about 110 rounds a day. So still pretty impressive for our municipal course. One more note, on Sunday evenings, the Junior League has started up and they have 48 participants. So that's great to see all demographics enjoying the Zionsville golf course. And that's
great.
Yep.
Do you want to introduce Greg?
We can start with Mindy and then Greg.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good evening, everyone. So another busy month for Parks and Recreation, especially in the programming aspect of it. Just kind of a quick breakdown. We still having pretty good walk-ins with the Nature Center. So we had a little over 700 walk-in through August. To kind of give you that, I like to crunch the numbers. We've been open since April. So 5 months of being open in the new facility area. And we've already surpassed our attendance for the entire year of 2019. So 2019, we had 5,043 walk-ins, and we are at 5,053 walk-ins as of the end of August. So definitely doing very well on that one. Same with our programs. We're already at 247 programs that we've offered either virtually or in person. To compare that to, we don't compare to 2020, but 2019, we had 230 for the entire year. So we definitely are doing very well on that end. A few different things. Magical Park, as we know, has been going on at Mulberry Fields. It's doing very well. Been seeing a lot of, go back and look at the analytics and you'll see spikes, especially on the weekends. I was actually out there for one of our Tales in the Trails dog walks, and an entire Girl Scout troop was out there using it for their badges to get their technology badge that they wanted to use. So, and we actually had a fairy program this morning out at Magical Park. So we had a bunch of little preschoolers running around in fairy outfits and playing the game. But I actually just checked today and we're a couple of days behind. But right now, so far, we've had 119 logins. And that's about 298 people that have used the digital playground since it's opened in beginning of August. A few other things. We had our Creek Fest event. If any of you had come out, we had about 223 people show up for the event itself, had 107 that volunteered to actually help clean up. And we pulled 2,040 pounds of trash out of Eagle Creek on that morning. So it was there. It was nice that the water was very low. So they were able to get things that had probably been lurking there for a while, and we've just been overlooking them. So Tales on the Trails has kicked off. So that's our dog walking spree. It's in its 6th year. And as of today, we have 53 dogs registered for the walking spree. And they're out there either joining us for group walks or out on their own. So having some good attendance with that one. And we hired our final staff member for the rec side. So we did hire in Sierra Stewart, actually started yesterday as a part-time naturalist with the Nature Center. So now we have 3 naturalist staff and 1 rec coordinator to help with the programming. So that's all.
And before you go, I just wanted to mention that the recreation staff is going to tour the Carpenter Nature Preserve next week.
Yes, we tour on Monday. So we're looking forward.
You'll get a chance to get inside and take a look at the clubhouse building and, see what the future might hold for the Nature Center out there. And we should also mention it's the 20th anniversary of the Nature Center too. So
yeah, next year.
Yeah, you all should be very proud of what you've accomplished, especially this past year with more visibility and the increased numbers. I think that's really great.
Yeah, it's definitely helped us. And I think the community is enjoying this, the new look. So.
Okay.
Right.
Thanks, Mindy.
Thank you, Mindy. Anybody else have anything to say? Any comments? No. Okay. Okay, now let's go back to Jared and our Director of Maintenance.
Yeah, in lieu of a Director of Maintenance report for this month, I want to introduce you all to Greg Dickinson. Over the summer, we recruited for the Director of Maintenance Services position. Sarah Moore, Mindy, and myself were on that panel as the interviewing panel. Unanimously, we all agreed that Greg was our top applicant, and he accepted the position and began at the end of August. So I'll let Greg say a couple words about his history, and we'll go from there. Yeah.
Hi, it's nice to see all your faces and everybody tonight. So I've been in the park and rec field for about 20 years, some capacity or other. Strong background, natural resource management. So my previous position, I was the natural resource manager at Brownsburg Parks, which kind of included their natural resource restoration program and all their grounds maintenance. So no stranger to that type of work. And I guess that's about it.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you and welcome.
Welcome. Hey.
Is there anything more on maintenance?
Not at this time. The crews are
Okay.
busy. We're having a resurgence of graffiti, so staying on top of that, on top of their regular duties within the parks.
Okay. And now the Park Board Attorney report. So we turn to our attorney, Roger Burris.
Yes, I don't have a lot. The usual contract reviews and keeping up with requests from Jared and others. Continue working on the Big Four property acquisitions and also the grant requirements for the Next Level Trails grant. So we're continuing to make progress on those items and just some other research. Sometimes I think my second position is maybe the historian for the Parks Department since I've been around so long. Jared asked me when, he needs a little history lesson about something, which is fine. I'm happy to provide that sort of information.
Okay. All right. The next thing on the agenda is new business, but if you'll indulge me, my first time running this meeting, I failed to ask for public presentations or comments in the beginning. So if we can just go out of order for a second here, is there any member of the public that would like to comment? John, anybody online? No? Okay, then we'll move on to new business. And you wanted to take this out of order and go with the Zionsville Optimist Club 5K race first.
Thank you. Ian Stewart, on behalf of the Zionsville Optimist Club, approached the department on July 13th on how our missions could align and we could better serve the community in a united effort. We quickly identified that both of our groups sought to benefit the well-being of the youth of Zionsville. And I'll have Ian introduce himself and kind of describe the project we've laid out for this year.
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, so I am here this evening, obviously as a Zionsville resident, but also representing the Zionsville Optimist Club. So as Jared has outlined, we got together talking a few months ago with regards to the annual Hit the Bricks race, which has actually been held 38 years running in Zionsville in various forms. And this year, we really wanted to try and link with a local, if you like, community resource. And the Parks Department seemed to us to be a very worthy recipient of any kind of help we could provide for them with regards to, sponsorship as we raise money, both for this and for many other things that the Optimist Club does locally. So we are well in the planning phase of this year's event. It's October 9th, Saturday morning. With Jared's permission, we have actually placed quite a number of signs on the trail and also around the town. So we're ramping up publicity. We have this organized as a 5K, which is more competitive, but it's also it's an event that people can walk as well. So, we want everybody of all levels to participate. We also have a 3K event, which we're actually gearing more towards middle schoolers. And we've linked up with the local middle schools and the running clubs there. And they're running that kind of as their last event of the kind of season. So the other piece of this is obviously promoting exercise and wellness and recreation in the community, as well as having a link with the youth and promoting them. In this case, with running, but as I say, we're very happy for anyone to come along and walk the trail down into the village, and then it loops back up to the start finish, which is at the high school. So it's a very kind of walkable, runnable, friendly route, pretty flat, and if you're a competitive runner, it's also got a couple of hills in there just to challenge you. So that's the plan for this year. I'd encourage everybody here to come out and walk or run with us. The more funds we can raise, obviously the community ultimately and the parks will benefit. So the plan this year is that we will provide funds to support a water station, a bike repair area in the new Overly Warman Park, which we're excited about. So that is something that, be you a dog walker or a cyclist or a runner or whatever in our trails is something, particularly in the hot months, is great to have those sort of facilities at hand. So hopefully this year will be successful. And if it is, we'd like to also look to partnering with the Parks Department in the future, as there's plenty of other exciting activities planned, and it could be a great, ongoing relationship.
That's a great partnership, and we're glad that you're open to it. It's good to see the two groups together, and I've noticed a lot of the signs have co-branding on them that say the Optimist Club and the Zionsville Department of Parks and Recreation. That's all very positive, and of course, you'll have a plaque on the things that you provide for Overly Warman Park, which will hopefully even pay it forward for years to come. So thank you for your openness and your willingness to work together, Jared and the Optimist Club. And, we look forward to great things in the future too.
Any questions or?
No, thank you.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thanks very much.
All right, now on to the Park Impact Fee Study of 2021. And Jared's going to get us started, and we have Matt Eckerly here from Baker Tilly to talk us through.
Yeah, so approximately in 2012, the last Park Impact Fee Study was passed and adopted as ordinance. So that document has been guiding kind of how the town acquires park impact fees moving forward. So it's long overdue to update that document. We've been working with Matt over the past year in Baker Tilly to inventory our existing parklands, benchmark it against neighboring communities, and provide a new calculation for that park impact fee. So as new developments come in, they pay a portion of the infrastructure that's already in place for our park system, so that we can continue to meet that growth and demand as our community continues to grow. So for a little bit more detail, I'll hand it over to Matt.
Today was actually the first time I got to meet Jared in person, so it was really nice. It's been nice over the last several months to meet people in the flesh rather than little boxes on my computer screen. So thank you for having me tonight. As mentioned, my name is Matt Eckerly. I'm a partner with Baker Tilly here in Indianapolis, and we were engaged by the Parks and Recreation Department, as Jared mentioned, to help with the update to the document that is the basis for the impact fee ordinance, and that is the impact fee zone improvement plan. We had distributed electronic versions previously, and I gave Jared some hard copies tonight that I believe he shared with everyone. It's a 30-some page document. I'm not going to run through all the details. I'm going to do kind of a flyover of the methodology and the calculation, and I'm happy to dive into details as needed from this body. I'll give a moment for this to be passed around. But as Jared said, back in, actually it was December of 2011, the current impact fee ordinance was adopted. It went into effect 6 months following that adoption, so in May of 2012. And the current impact fee amount for a single family home is $1,221, and that's paid when a permit for a new residential housing unit is pulled. That's just one of the fees that gets paid, and as Jared mentioned, it's a way to have new development pay for itself. You know, new houses mean new residents generally, and that is additional pressures on the Parks Department. If you want to turn to page 8, this really tells the story of the calculation. And well, at the end of the day, the math is relatively straightforward. There's a lot behind the scenes that goes into it. We engaged with Jared, with Rundell Hertzberger, with the Impact Fee Advisory Committee to get inputs on a variety of items, chief among them being the level of service targets for the various amenities types provided by the Parks Department. And if you want more information or detail on that, that's page 11. But those level of service targets become the guiding principle to figure out, okay, how many baseball diamonds or how many soccer fields do we need for every 1,000 people? And then figuring out, okay, if we get 5,000 new residents over the next 10 years, that's going to require X amount of new amenities. And putting all of that together, we work with the Economic Development and Planning Department to get estimates of housing and population growth over the next 10 years. We have calculated that the new population that's estimated to move into Zionsville in the next 10 years will generate a need of just under $7.5 million in new parks amenities. And that is so the new residents are being served at the same level as the existing residents. Again, as has been mentioned, this is only paid by new residents, and it's only paid based on infrastructure needs that they make necessary. The state mandates through the state code the calculation of the impact fee, and there are certain credits that must be taken out of that $7.5 million in recognition of other ways that either new residents or existing residents have acquired will pay into the park system. And that includes what we call non-local revenues, which really accounts for donations. We've looked at historically the level of land that has been purchased by the town of Zionsville and what has been donated. I think Roger referred earlier to being parks historian. About 10 years ago, he went diving through deeds to help us quantify that to the acre. So we quantify and assume that historical practice for donations will continue into the future. And that is broken out on page 19. It also is a space to account for grants. Jared mentioned earlier that you're pursuing the Next Level Trails grant. However, in the last 5 years, the town has not received any grants for parks capital improvements. So it's a reasonable assumption that none will be received in the future, though, get that grant. Other credit items include new residents making traditional tax payments that contribute to bond payments. There's outstanding bonds that have been issued to fund parks capital improvements, and the assumption is that those will remain outstanding, and it's reasonable to assume that the town will make use of that tool in the future. And then also there's the regular capital budget of the Parks Department that's funded through traditional property and income taxes, other taxes as well, and recognizing that they'll be paying into that as well. And those credits are to avoid the new residents, quote unquote, double paying for new recreation amenities. And so assumption that it's not just going to be impact fees carrying the day, it's simply a tool in the toolbox. So that results in a net capital costs to be funded through impact fees of just under $3.8 million. You divide that by the estimated future housing units that are coming in over that 10-year plan horizon, and you come to an impact fee amount of $2,045 for a single family housing unit. We do have an adjustment for multifamily housing units. You pay it on a per unit basis. And that's in recognition that, you know, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment isn't going to create the same recreational amenities need as a single family home. And to get to that adjustment amount, we looked at census data on occupancy statistics for those different housing unit types and adjusted based on the baseline being a single family housing unit. So the average household size of a multifamily home in Zionsville is about 46% of a single family home. So that's how we arrived at that number. As I mentioned, I wanted to stick to the high level. The subsequent pages contain a lot of detail that goes into this page 8. I'm happy to discuss those items as much or as little as this body desires. From here, this information will be used for the drafting of a new impact fee ordinance to be contemplated by the town council. It also has to be acted upon by the plan commission as well, since it's goes into the planning documents for the town. This body does not have a formal role in the approvals. Roger, please correct me if I'm wrong there, but it's always been represented to me by legal counsel that this body doesn't have a formal role, but we always like to share it with the Parks Board because obviously you have a vested interest in this financing tool. That I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Very thorough.
A lot of numbers.
You should see all the stuff that doesn't make it under the.
I can only imagine that sheets of the spreadsheet.
So is it normal for there to be a period from 2012 to 21 to be doing this? Or should something have been done previously?
Well, and Roger, please jump in with your perspective. The law states that these ordinances need to be updated every 5 years.
Okay.
And that is what we put in here. I cannot speak to the policy decisions that were made. Prior to this, we had been working with the prior administration and it got held up for whatever reason. And then we were engaged when Jared came on board.
Okay. It's just, I know that we've there was a little discussion, but there's a big jump from 12 to 21. And I think having a good understanding of why that we missed a step
Sure.
in between is important.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I cannot provide the context on.
Yeah, no, and I'm not asking you to do that. Just, I think it's good for everybody to understand, kind of the understanding that we missed a level.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in effect for 5 years. You can certainly, if circumstances change 3 years from now, you can certainly go through the process earlier.
Okay,
But it's supposed to be every 5 years.
great, thank you.
If this lasts for 5 years, is there an escalator built in as inflation increases over those 5 years, or is this going to be the level?
This will be the level, at least as proposed, for 5 years. You can certainly, and we've seen this in other communities, base it on where you're at today and escalate it some percentage each year until you reach 2045. Most communities, in my experience, will just simply update it and put it in here. We've accounted for inflation in our numbers. It's really, that's a policy decision at the end of the day, whether or not you want to escalate it to this 2045 or keep it level. This 2045 represents the maximum that the methodology will allow for this impact fee amount to be. So I would, based on prior happenings here in Zionsville many years ago, if you adopt an ordinance that is not supported by the zone improvement plan, it can open you up to litigation.
So it's difficult to project what inflation is going to be 5 years down the road. But you said that inflation is accounted for here. At what level are we accounting for?
We had accounted for 1.5% annual inflation, and that was based on historical CPI information.
Okay.
Obviously, we can take all kinds of different tracks with that, but when we consulted with Tricia and with Jared, felt comfortable at the 1.5% level.
Okay.
So what's the, Carmel being double? So why are they double? What's there's a lot of growth there, and what's the main carrier for that?
Sure, and I happened to work with Carmel on their last iteration, and they have a different approach and methodology that's more based on the raw amount or the raw valuation of total parks assets rather than focusing on individual asset classes. And they have a already highly valued park system, and they look to maintain that, and growth is slowing somewhat in Carmel as they run out of land. And so your cost target is up here, and with the population and housing growth where it's at, that's where the math ended up. I will say it's always one of the reasons we included this is everyone loves to look at their neighbors, but one thing you have to keep in mind is that Every community takes its own approach to impact fees, and you don't necessarily understand all the inputs. Like I said, Carmel uses a different methodology that's a little bit more aggressive in approach. For example, Cicero, which is they only have 5 items. I believe it's just 5 items, amenities types in their impact fee plan. So some communities try to include a wide amount, Zionsville being one, Plainfield being another. Others try to focus in on certain ones. So that can sometimes drive those differences in impact fee amounts beyond just individual dynamics of those communities.
Carmel's reached their growth limit in a way, so that they ought to have to subsidize.
Yeah, there's not a lot of land left in some of those communities to the east.
How are those target ratios established?
So those were based on a few different inputs. One, just looking at the last impact fee plan and what had been established there. Also through the master planning process, which incorporated community surveys. And Tricia, please jump in if I'm getting over my skis here. But it incorporates community surveys, things of that nature to identify what are the people of Zionsville saying they are prioritizing for their park system. And then we also looked at other communities, both in Indiana and nationally, to see what the benchmarks are elsewhere, and that helped inform those as well. If you have questions on specific types, not to put Jared and Tricia on the spot, but I'm sure they'd be happy to answer some of those questions.
No, not specifically. I saw it was the 2012. I didn't know if the town had established that and we're going off that 2012 number based on what we previously established, if that's changed at all in the last 10 years.
For some of them it has, and some of them the group elected to keep it consistent with 2012. And there are even some new amenities compared to 2012,
yeah,
and some that were in 2012 that were removed to reflect changing priorities.
Anybody else? No? Now, Roger, should we have a resolution and pass this? Or do we, obviously, the town council needs to be the ultimate arbiter of whether or not this is accepted. But do
Right,
we need
right.
to?
We don't have the power to pass an ordinance. I was thinking in the past that the Parks Board did approve it, but I'll defer to Matt at this point, unless we find out differently. So it'll be prepared, and go to the town council and the plan commission like it should. And I did see where last time around the town council attorney prepared the ordinance and took it through approval. So we kind of initiate the process, and get the group together, and the mayor appoints some of the committee members. Aaron, you were on the committee, right? So it's been a bit of an extended process this time, but it's good to have it, back where it should be and fitting in with our usual schedule. And so, yeah, we'll make sure it gets wrapped up properly this time and go from there.
Well, it's been a long process because it's been a long time, a lot of ground to cover,
Right.
a lot of years to cover. So you're saying we don't need to make a resolution and don't need to, okay, great. Any more questions for Matt? Well, Matt, thank you. We appreciate your time and appreciate all your hard work on this.
Thank you. Nice to see all of you.
Okay, now Jared's going to come back and tell us all about some of the new ideas and the new aspects of Winterfest. Absolutely.
Share my screen here for a second. You are about to witness a very rough draft, but nearing final layout of our Winterfest event. So we will still accommodate accessible parking and be utilizing one of the parking lots at Mulberry. But we are working with the middle school and Zionsville United Methodist Church on overflow parking. We just met with Maple Lawn today as they begin to plan out their programming plan for the month of December and how our two operations can complement each other. So the rink will be in that first bay of the parking lot. We will put a barricade in front of the parking lot before the first shelter each day that operations begin. Ice skating will begin after 4 p.m. on the weekdays when school's in session and around noon once school is out. So patrons will enter and purchase their tickets for the ice rink and their skates lace up next to the rink and enjoy the ice skating rink. But really, that is just the foundation of this event. Both Wendy and Mindy have gone above and beyond to turn this event into an experience. So all month long, we're going to be having groups and presenters and other entertainment coming to the ice rink to make people come back all month long. So Santa will be making a couple appearances, live reindeer, the Indy Nitro ice skating team, as well as some community groups for presentations. So we're very excited for all that to begin unfolding this December. Let me grab my notes here.
You know, in the circle there, I see you have food vendors mentioned. Originally, there was talk of rotating some in. It's not going to be the same thing all the time. Are we still going to bring in multiple food vendors?
Correct. So we are going to allow up to 4 food vendors per day. We've already had one vendor express interest in the entire event, having a presence throughout the event. So we're going to offer those spots at a first come, first serve opportunity at a very heavy discount. So as these vendors come into our event and take a chance on us for this first year, we'll repay that with a generous partnership, and they should all have a great season as well. Have no doubt this is going to be quite the attraction. We will also have places to warm yourself near fire pits and outdoor heaters, as well as programming back in the Holiday Village, which is where that back pavilion is near the restrooms. So like I said, this will be an experience rather than just the ice skating event, and we're really excited for it to begin to unfold. We do have 2 things to talk about tonight concerning that. We entered into a contract for the physical rink earlier this year in July, and there were a couple of components separate from that we knew we would have to rent or purchase. And these are some of those last 2 large purchases. So the first one is the sound and lighting for the event. So reaching out to various vendors for this type of event planning is a little bit specialized, and also inventories and availability makes this difficult. But we were able to work with NBE Event Group, which is actually a Zionsville-based event group. And the proposal is for 4 8-inch speakers to surround the ice rink, 8 14-foot tall vertical trusses to hold on to the lighting system that'll be programmable and will provide a visual entertainment along with the ice skating rink and making it safe. That also includes the soundboard and the mixing tables, as well as a microphone. So the entire package for the rental of the season of both sound and light equipment is $27,408. So we do have funds in the general fund to accommodate that, both between the additional appropriation and budgeting throughout the year. So I would like you to consider accepting that proposal from NBE for the lighting and sound services for Winterfest.
So were there competitive bids for that?
There were. One of the challenges were finding a vendor that could have everything. So one of them was kind of disqualified just because they were only able to secure lighting rather than sound. And the other didn't offer the same value as far as the lighting, but it was a close competition in price. So both being able to support local and having a competitive process, I feel NBE is the best choice for this.
The lighting, is it, is this so you can see at night, or is it just you're going to have a light show? Is that what the premise is?
A little bit of both. So we'll be lighting the rink for safety, obviously first. There will be multiple colors that are programmable, to enjoy while skating as well. And this will also provide that bistro lighting from those trusses to kind of add to the atmosphere and also light our shelters while families enjoy the food trucks and warming up. So.
And there will be music?
There will be music as well. The last component, which is a small thing, is just acquiring a license to run the music, which is just a contract for that year-long membership.
And what about the electrical load that this is going to need?
So I believe it was July, the park board approved the electrical upgrades necessary for this equipment. We actually have the electrical consultant out there this week, beginning to pour the pad for that new transformer box and plug-in. So that will be finished up within the next 2 weeks, and we will have our electrical outlet for both the rink and more for the 120 traditional voltage.
So the reason I asked is I know we have capacity for the rink to keep the rink cold,
yes.
but adding the sound and the lighting is, that raises the level of
Yep.
what we're going to need.
And that was taken into consideration
Yeah,
with that
okay.
engineering. These are all LED lighting. So a smaller load, there's still a load, but obviously it is a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And we can also pull power from the restrooms, which would be a separate circuit.
Anybody have any other questions about that? Do you want to have us make a resolution about that first?
Yeah, a motion on the
A motion,
contract
yeah.
with NBE Event Group for $27,408.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept that bid?
I'll make a motion to accept the bid of MBE for the lighting and sound for Winterfest.
Jill Pack has made the motion that we accept this bid. Do we have a
Second.
second? John Wallenberg seconds. Anybody else have any comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack.
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell.
Aye.
John Solowich.
Aye.
And I say aye as well, so that passes unanimously. All right, the base of the rink, which is going to be an in-house job.
That's right. So the second component that we knew we would have to obtain separate from the original contract was the base for the ice rink. We have been working with Tricia and REA to design that ice rink foundation. And based on pricing and just the market this year with lumber, we've decided to build this in-house. It's essentially a large deck with a very simple design to distribute the weight of the ice rink, the equipment, and the skaters. So it'll be approximately 70 feet by 56 feet with a small rise from the ground and a ramp for accessibility and entrance onto the ice rink. So we shopped around at the various stores, Lowe's, Home Depot, Menards, and Lowe's had the most competitive bid at $37,836.35. And that includes delivery. Now, this is a little bit higher than we originally anticipated when we were projecting this in January, but the price of the board foot price of lumber has increased over 400% this year, and it's starting to decrease. But my concern is if we hold off a couple other months, we won't be able to secure the quantities needed. So Park Maintenance will be building this platform for most of November in preparation of Winterfest.
Is there a way to make this modular and be able to reused?
Absolutely. So we will be numbering this and storing it. And speaking with Tricia today, it sounds like we won't necessarily have to construct the entire 70-foot long span. It'll essentially be set up to support itself in each of those plywood segments. So we can build a stage for all of our upcoming events and reuse it year after year.
I have
70 by what?
56.
I have
And you're confident we have the expertise and the ability to do this?
Yeah, and speaking with Greg and our maintenance team, as well as with REA, who is working on having a construction manager essentially to help us out as well with the finer details, I feel confident we can complete this.
And where is it going to be stored?
So the lumber will be deposited to Mulberry Fields where it'll be fenced while we construct it throughout the month. And then that fence will be utilized for the rink during operations as well. And then when the season is finished, we do have excess storage out at Perkins, the property next to Heritage Trail Park. So we will accommodate the stage year round. And as we increase our events throughout the year in 2022 and beyond, we'll be able to utilize this stage for more and more programming.
So do we need a rider, like a special rider on the insurance because we're gonna build it ourselves?
I don't think so. I mean, it's going to be a park facility. So in that regard, you know, our typical insurance would cover it. You know, it may be something we need to make sure that our agent is aware of so that we can be sure, you know, because it would be an additional item that might be, susceptible to damage by fire or other natural disasters. I think that would be a good point, but I don't see an issue from a liability standpoint.
I mean, just
I
to,
assume the Rink company has their own.
There's a special policy for the whole operation that was part of the contract with the ice rink company.
to give you guys a little bit of a visual here about what we're talking about. I apologize for not pulling that up sooner. So this is that foundation that we'll be building, 70 by 56. It's approximately 6 to 10 inches off the ground. So it is, not a huge step up. It's pretty close to the ground. It really just serves to distribute the weight of the ice rink and ensure that it's level, because that's the biggest thing you need to ensure when you have an ice rink. So the water and the glycol doesn't pool in one end and it distributes evenly.
Not to go into too much detail, but what are you building this out of? It's almost $10 a square foot. That seems slightly high for.
There is special considerations like the marine grade board for the plywood.
Oh, it's marine grade.
Yep. Pressure treated lumber. So this will be built to last both the conditions of an ice rink and then hopefully the longevity of the platform.
So you have to have a flat, smooth surface.
Yep.
Menards offers 11% off right now.
Yeah. And
Just throwing it out there.
we did look at that. Yep.
Is it, I don't know if you've considered this, but is it possible to trade sponsorship and mitigate some of this cost with Lowe's or?
Absolutely. We're exploring every option of that, as well as the equipment we may need for the offloading of the ice rink, the 2 forklifts. So that sponsorship plan has been developed and we're beginning to distribute that out. We're just waiting on some of those promotional materials to be designed.
I'm just going to say that maybe, Lowe's of Zionsville wants to be, could they be named or something?
Title sponsorship, community partner. We have a lot of different levels that we could.
Rink provided by.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a fantastic
Or
idea.
days sponsored by various groups.
What's
you
that?
know, Or days that are sponsored by various groups like A-Cards Day or, whatever.
Absolutely.
Burris and Cease Day at the ice skating rink, that sort of thing.
Make sure your will's up to date before you start skating.
So $37,836, is that still well within the budget?
Yes. Yep. It's a little bit inflated. We were anticipating closer to 10. So it is higher than that.
That's a lot higher than 10. But there's an expectation that we're going to make this back.
Yes. Yep. That is how we're modeling the pricing to break even or close nearby. So,
Okay.
When you say materials, it's all lumber, fasteners. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any more discussion?
How long have you budgeted to build this?
what's that?
How long have you budgeted the staff to build this?
About a month, all of November. So we'll get aggressive on leaves and then figure out a work plan for completing this on time.
We don't have grass to grow or grass to cut in November, right?
Saves us a
So
little time.
is weather a potential problem in building something like this?
That is a concern, absolutely. But, given a month lead time, we're hoping we can get that in place. And worst case scenario, we still have up until December 10th, really December 6th to complete that. So that's an additional week or two as well. So there's more town resources that we can pinch. I'm not afraid to ask favors. The Department of Public Works has partnered with us on many projects, so we won't fail in the completion of this.
Okay. So I guess, Greg, this is your first big test, huh? Bring this in on time and on budget. So does anybody have want to make a motion that we accept $37,836 as a budget to build the base for the rink, a permanent base for the rink?
It's going to opportunity at this.
You can use John's 10% off card on that Lowe's. Will help. Anybody want to make that resolution?
I guess I'll make the motion that
Make the
we
motion.
approve Jared to move forward with the bid for the materials for the Winterfest ice rink at $37,000 and change from Lowe's.
John Wollenberg has moved that we accept this. Anybody second?
I second.
John Solowich seconds, and so let's take a vote. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
John Solowich,
Aye.
and I say aye as well, making it unanimous. All right, so let's move on to the golf course pathway improvements, which many people are interested in. And we had put this out for bids. And today we find out about the bids that we have received.
That's right. So last month, this project was put out for bid. As you recall, it is for the improvements to the existing infrastructure at the golf course. Over time and due to flooding seasonally, the cart paths have deteriorated over the years. So this project was to rehabilitate those pathways and also provide some grading solutions to improve both the layout of the course paths and also improve safety on some of those slopes. So the bids closed today at 1 p.m. We did receive one from Citywide Paving, and that was for $509,569. So to put that in perspective, our estimate was approximately $494,000. So this is about a $15,000 difference, which is about 3% of the total project. So we're asking this contractor to begin and end the project this fall so that we can have the course start healing over the winter and be ready for the 2022 season without impact.
Now, I know there was some concern about this because it's getting late in the year and a lot of these companies have their schedules laid out till the end of the year, and we want to get it done now so it doesn't impact the golf season, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it sure would have been nice to get, some good competition here and maybe knock this price down a little bit. Is this, in your view, a reasonable bid? Even though it's over what we had budgeted for it?
I think with the fluctuation in construction expenses this year that we've experienced across the board, every project that we've had is came in over since, except for the Southern Rail Trail expansion, which we received a discount because of the proximity of HIS construction at Overly Warman. So that was kind of the outlying exception. But for instance, our cost estimates on the Starkey SB3 stairs was approximately $125, and that came in at $170, which we approved and moved forward with. So just a strange year. Obviously, if the entire construction industry kind of restarted overnight, and there was a increase in demand, and then the distribution issues with supply have kind of caught up with us. So hopefully these prices aren't permanent, but as we are in a state of growth, we are kind of subject to the market and the atmosphere of construction right now.
So the alternative would be to put this off for another year. Yep. And have the golf course trail system be substandard for another year.
Yep. And with a 3% difference, I'm not sure how much of that would be ate up with inflation of next year's pricing. So it's hard to tell how much of a gamble whether we would actually save or lose in the coming years. So
do we have any experience with this company or any projects they've done?
We personally do not. I spoke with Trisha a little bit about some of the projects they've done. Recently, they've been working on other golf courses in the area. They just purchased the golf course paving equipment. So they're trying to maximize that as they enter into these larger golf course projects. So this has become their specialty as of late. And we were happy to see their bid, honestly. We weren't sure that we would get them with our timeline. Speaking with another contractor who we have worked with before, they mentioned that this project is a little bit specialized. You can't just bring in normal paving equipment because it's not made for that 6-foot dimensions of a cart path as opposed to a road. So there is extra damage that would be done to the course, should they use full-size equipment. So it is kind of a specialized job. And then also our time frame. Most construction companies, kind of book out their entire year and would want to do this project in the summer when the ground is the driest. So we're kind of banking on enjoying that fall dryness right before the winter it starts precipitating a little bit more.
And I think we need to be mindful too that Duke Energy is doing its project. What would they, along hole 9? Is that or 8 and 9?
Yep.
There.
So
and it would be advantageous to do these things at the same time.
Absolutely. So they would actually fund a very small portion of the project as their operations would impact that. Not to say that they won't be making those improvements regardless, they will, but it would be nice to partner and have the entire project kind of wrapped up at the same time, as opposed to damaging the course this year and then again next year.
Yeah. I know anecdotally that many golfers are very anxious to see this get done. I wish Mike was here to speak to that tonight, but Jill and John, you've been kind of paying close attention to the golf course operations. You have anything to say about that? About the
No, Roger, the bid meets all the criteria that we require?
I haven't seen the documents yet. I assume those will come to me for approval. And yes, I will definitely take a look at that. But just in general, I think, I mean, I have no concerns about, I think it's pretty amazing that you could get this close on a bid. I mean, 3% is really not bad at all. And so, yeah, if this company checks out, then I think it's definitely a winner.
So subject to legal review then?
Yeah,
Is that-
and what you said, John, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah, well, I think it's needed. I think we all know that it's needed. So with that in mind, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept this bid. What was the name of the company again, Jared?
City paving,
City Paving?
citywide paving. sorry.
Citywide Paving for $509,000 pending legal review. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, the motion has been made and seconded by John Wallenberg. Let's take a vote. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell,
Aye.
John Solowich.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. So that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to old business now. The Heritage Trail Park Utility Easement.
So there was some confusion with this request. This was actually an easement for new services related to the shelter out at Heritage Trail. This is just an easement to service those lines that service the shelter, which was a part of the phase 1 development. So, or in preparation of the dog park, I apologize. So just a standard easement for REMC to access their equipment. And normally they do shut off power when they don't receive these easements. So I guess we're lucky they left the lights on for us. So I would ask for a motion to approve this easement and sign it on behalf of the park board.
Oh, Tim had some concerns last time about why they were asking for that particular easement. Did we resolve that?
Yeah, so this was actually as a part of new construction. There was some confusion on the layout of it.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So is it the red line that they want to run here?
Yes, yep. And that already
It's
exists.
just they have the rights to maintain it, right?
Yes, yep.
But we have to approve their access, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions on that? Any further discussion? Does anybody want to make a motion to what? To
I'll make a
allow them,
motion.
allow REMC to come in and do their work?
I'll make a motion for RMC to further easement.
Okay, John Solowich makes that motion, and we have a second.
I'll second.
Is that Aaron or
Me.
Jill? Jill Pack seconded that. And let's take a vote. John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Jill Pack,
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell.
Aye.
John Solowich.
Aye.
And I say aye as well. So that passes unanimously. All right, also under old business here, the South Rail Trail Extension and Trailhead property. Is that Roger, it's going to talk about that, or Jared?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get those scheduled for closing soon. I need some more information from the property owners and, but it's moving along as planned. One of the questions last month was how long they would have to vacate the properties, and I think we've got that worked out. So I've prepared all the documents and it's in their court, but I'm hoping to hear from them soon so that we can schedule a closing date. And then and we approved that last month, but I will need to Tim Cassidy or Jared to be present for that closing. Two closings.
Are you at liberty to say what the resolution was? How much time that they are?
I proposed the end of February, because we figured we wanted to give them sufficient time, to arrange for their moves, but also be prepared to, be ready to start construction, in the spring. So, and I was kind of thinking end of February gives us kind of a month of extra time if we need it. So
Will there
they did
be,
not object to that.
will there be access in the meantime to go in and do, if we need to do engineering studies or need
Yes.
to? So that's not a problem. We don't need to go into the building. So
Right.
that's easy for everybody. Okay. And so there's nothing new on
Nothing
that.
else to do tonight.
Okay. Overly Warman Park, Jared,
I do have one more update for the
Nope.
Southern Rail Trail.
sorry about that.
No worries. We'll be having a meeting with HIS tomorrow to, along with the REA and the Department of Public Works to kind of coordinate the road closure of Starkey Avenue as that bridge will be replaced, and also get a firm timeline on the operations of the Southern Rail Trail and that closure. So more information to come very soon. Once we have that in hand, we'll begin communicating that out to the public. We know it's going to be a sting for the rail trail to close south of Nancy Burton, but we know you'll enjoy the end product once it's done.
I have a quick question related to the bridge, because there was a road closure sign on Starkey the other day and now it's gone. Was that related to that?
Yep, that was just signage being placed a little premature. So this meeting will better coordinate that and start the project.
Gotcha.
And we're able to coordinate that with Public Works and their
Yes.
road projects. So that's good. Okay.
Well, they have a corresponding project on Starkey Avenue, and we are hoping to have overlap to only close the road once. So
Right.
we've been in communication on that all year. But again, the uncertainty of moving parts and working with other entities, their project was pushed forward to July, which we couldn't have met. And now we're here in September and it hasn't been completed. So we're doing our best to coordinate that.
Okay. All right. And Lions Park tennis / pickleball.
All right. Just a quick note on Overly Warman. Playground equipment is inbound and will be installed soon. And then John Salovich, myself and Tricia will walk with HIS tomorrow to kind of flag out and look over the 9-hole disc golf course. So just make sure it's got a good layout for play.
Keep trying to push you ahead faster than you want to go.
You're ready
I'm
to get
sorry.
out of here.
I'm new at this. I'm doing the best I can. Sorry about that. Anything else on Overly Warman?
Not at this time.
Roger
I
has
was
something.
just, I had somebody contacted me about the Overly Warman, the Friends of Overly Warman Park. And have you had any contact with them, with that group?
I know they exist, and I've spoke with the president of the HOA for Bonterra, who's also a member, I believe, and helped them get their 501c3. But beyond that, we haven't discussed what that partnership or stewardship looks like.
And I suggested that this guy contact you, and he's a former member of the park board, so he would
Perfect.
be a good person to be involved in that. He's
Absolutely.
also a mountain biking enthusiast, so
Oh, great. Yeah, we're going to need them.
good fit.
Well, the last several meetings when we've talked about overly warming, there have been change orders that have cost us money. So I guess that's good tonight, right? It's not costing us any more to have the discussion. So that's good.
Trying to minimize those. Yes. But again, a clean fill site, every time you break ground, you're going to find something new and
Right.
challenging that we're overcoming. But
Anybody else on overly warming? All right, then let's move on to Lions Park tennis / pickleball.
so the hybrid courts were resurfaced earlier this year, and now progress has been made on the dedicated pickleball court, which is to the side of the existing hybrid courts. The asphalt has been laid and had an opportunity to cure, and surfacing should happen within next weekend. So posts are in place for the court, and we should be moving forward very soon. Very excited to get that project wrapped up so the community can start enjoying our first pickleball court.
Anything more on the tennis courts and being able to adapt those for pickleball?
Been in conversations with the Zionsville Pickleball Association, and pending the final sign off of the project, which will address any cracks or other defects that might appear between now and the close of the contract with AG Sports, we will work with them to restripe the courts and find a solution to have more pickleball courts on the hybrid courts and not impact the tennis players as well. So it's a win-win for both user groups.
Just as a reminder, the Fall Festival is this coming weekend, so we don't want any major work going on down there this weekend.
Yeah, there should be none this weekend, next weekend. Sorry.
Well, speaking of Fall Festival, the Parks Department will have a booth there. And thank you to all of those who have signed up to take a shift in there. And I guess you've seen it, Jared made up a list of talking points so we can speak with authority when people ask us questions about things. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate that very much. Any other board-related items that anyone wants to bring up at this point? Okay, well, let's move on to claims. Any question about the claims or any comments? Right, do we have a motion to accept the claims?
I would make a motion that we approve claims.
John Wollenberg makes a motion to approve the claims as is. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
I never talk because it's always. Jacob.
Okay, so we're gonna say John Wollenberg made the motion and Aaron Bidwell seconded it. And now let's take a quick vote. John Wollenberg.
Aye.
Joe Pack.
Aye.
Aaron Bidwell.
Aye.
John Selowich.
Aye.
And I say aye as well, so that passes unanimously. All right, I want to make a note here that it is 8:06 when we're wrapping up, and I think we should all send Tim Cassidy a text telling him that we wrapped up at 8:06. Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to talk about.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, John Selowich makes a motion that we adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Aaron Bidwell makes that second, and we're just going to go for a voice vote on that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
October 13th, I will be gone that meeting.
Next.